This is a poem I learnt from an old fella in the smoke-filled Crane Bar in Galway Bay about 30 years ago. I asked him if he would write it down for me, and he said he wouldn't, and if I wanted to learn it I'd have to come back the next day, which is what I did. I think it's probably as relevant now as it ever has been, if not more so. I found out years later that it was written by John Denver, of all people. Anyway, this is the Irish version. Once upon a time in a land called Hushabye, around about that wondrous time of yore, I came upon a sort of box tied up with chains and locked with locks, and labelled, "Kindly do not touch, it's war." A decree was issued all about with a flourish and a shout, and a gaily coloured mascot tripping on before, saying, "Don't fiddle with this box, don't break the chains, don't pick the locks, and never try and play around with war." Well, the children understood, because children happened to be good, and they were just as good and simple in those wondrous days of yore. And they never tried to break the chains, they never tried to pick the locks, and they never tried to play around with war. Sisters didn't either, mammies, aunties, grannies neither, for they were just as good and simple in those wondrous days of yore. And they never tried to break the chains, they never tried to pick the locks, and they never tried to play around with war. But someone did. Someone battered in the lid and spilt the contents out upon the floor. It was a kind of bouncing ball made up of all the flags of the horror and the terror and the death that go with war. And it bounced right out and crashed all about, bumping almost everything in store. And what was sad and most unfair was that it didn't really seem to care just who it bumped, for what, or why, or for. Now there's a way to stop this ball, and it isn't difficult at all. All it takes is wisdom. I'm absolutely sure we can get the ball back in the box, tie the chains and lock the locks. But no one wants to help the children anymore. Well, that's the way it all appears, because that ball's been bouncing around for years and years. Ever since the day they found that deadly box, tied up with chains and locked with locks, and labelled, "Kindly do not touch, it's war."